Well, they're floating around the mid-20s, you know, somewhere maybe 27 on a good day. And the Scots have always looked upon Labour with favour, but I think in the last couple of decades, certainly the 80s and 90s, before devolution, I think that was because there was an absence of anyone else to go to. I mean, we all know Scotland had fallen out of love with the Conservative Party, you know, during the 1980s, certainly, and before that, during the 1970s. And they'd gone looking for other parties to vote for, and that's why you saw a resurgence of the Liberal Democrats, and they'd done quite well, and they'd become Scotland's second largest party at Westminster, not necessarily in terms of votes, but in terms of representative, you know, Scottish seat MPs. So I think Labour has discovered another player is in town, one that appeals to the Scottish electorate, one that the Scottish electorate trust in government now, and that's the important thing. You know, they now trust the SNP to be able to deliver on certain promises, and I think that's where Labour's having serious problems. Well, I think there's plenty of factors in that. There's more than one variable, and let's not doubt the referendum. What the referendum did is it put the focus firmly on, and it made people choose. You know, for possibly the first time, choose between am I Scottish and British, or am I Scottish and maybe British, or am I just Scottish? And I think what it made people do was look at the offerings of the visions from the parties, and they looked at the vision that the SNP put forward and said, yeah, I think that is quite doable. You know, it may not all be, you know, honey and sweetness and light, but I could go with that. So I think a lot of people who might not necessarily have examined the SNP in depth before, the referendum did that. But before, we've had 15 years of devolution almost now. And I think what is important is that devolution gave the SNP a base from which to operate, first as the opposition, then as minority government, and then as majority government. And they've delivered, as far as the Scottish people are concerned, on certain policies. They look around Scotland and they say, yeah, this is pretty good, I like what they're doing, so I'll vote for them. So it's a combination of these factors over time. I honestly do not know, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. The big variable is, of course, the first past the post system. Because you know as well as I do, you could get 40% share of the vote by coming second in every seat in Scotland. And of course, coming second, it may put the frighteners up the guy in first place, but it's certainly not going to win you any kudos in that parliament. If the polls are running true and they run true across Scotland as a whole, then there's no doubt that the vast majority of seats are going to go to the SNP. Have, on the other hand, some of the factors that I've heard argued in the last couple of days by fellow academics, the possibility we'll see a shift of 5–6% back at the last minute. Maybe some people aren't being particularly honest and open about them, you know, voting for Labour, or even the Tories, because we know people underreport voting for the Tories in Scotland. You know, they might drop back but even on a bad day, if they don't get something like 35 seats, at the very worst, I'd be very surprised. But I expect them to do a lot better than that. Coalition, not a chance.